Welcome to week number 6 of our knitting school, and today we are going to do the seed stitch, which is also known as the moss stitch. This will be our last week of doing stitches that are composed of the knit and the purl stitch. Next week we will start doing some increase and decrease stitches, which will involve a little bit of eyelet lace. So next week should be exciting. But let's get started with this week. As you can see, we have the basket weave stitch from last week. And the seed stitch, also known as the moss stitch, is simply moving back and forth between the knit and the purl stitches. So I'm going to begin with a knit stitch. And then I'm going to do a purl stitch. So I'm going to bring the yarn between the two needles, do the purl stitch. Make sure you move this yarn to the back before you do your knit stitch, or you will create an extra stitch and it'll also create a hole in your work. So we're going to knit and purl all the way across. It's similar to what we did with the rib stitch, but you're doing every single stitch is moving between the knit and the purl. And I will put up on the screen right here what that would look like in a pattern. Now let's knit to the end of the row and then we'll go from there. All right, you would have ended with a purl stitch. So we are now on the right side. We're getting ready to turn to the wrong side. So I'm going to turn this over, and you can see that that purl stitch now looks like a knit stitch. So now it looks like it's knit, purl, knit, purl. But to create a seed stitch, you're going to do the opposite of what that stitch looks like. So this looks like a knit stitch. You're actually going to start on the purl stitch. So we're going to go purl, knit, purl, and knit all the way across. This is what it would look like on a pattern. And now let's continue all the way across that row. Remember, if it looks like a purl stitch, you're going to knit it. If it looks like a knit stitch, you're going to purl. We have now gone all the way across the second time. You can start to see a pattern formed. The texture of the seed stitch is actually formed by the purls. So what you're going to do, you're going to repeat these 2 rows for 9 more times. I'll give you a total of 20 rows when we're finished. So let's do those, pause the video, and we'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. And here is what our finished seed pattern looks like. You can see it has a texture to it with the purl bumps. So this is how far we are with our cowl now. We have a garter, stockinette, rib stitch, and you will notice that the rib stitch does pull in a little bit here on both sides. That's because this is very elastic. Then we have the basket weave stitch, and then we have the seed stitch here. So next week's video is going to be on increases and decreases. And we will be spending a couple of different weeks doing that because there's several different stitches that can go along with that, and we're going to learn some of the basic ones. So make sure you come back next Wednesday. Thank you for watching. If you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and watch our Saturday podcast. Thanks so much.